What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. Here we are again, Uche and myself. We're going to talk about, a little, I don't want to say a sensitive subject, but is Cam Newton going to be put into the bench permanently by Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots? Here's the deal. To me, I went back, I looked at the game. I know a lot of people are very critical, but at the end of the day, the Pats are 2-4. Right? Cam went 9 for 15, 98 yards, 3 interceptions. But if we're going to be fair, one of them was a tip pass. The other one, a receiver fell down. One was a bad throw. So the positives are, to me, Cam has already came out and taken responsibility. We all know Bill can fix problems. And Uche, if you give me a list of people that counted the Patriots out, I'm going to give you a list of people that generally also got disappointed. But the real payoff for me is, Cam just isn't Tom Brady, and Tom Brady isn't Cam Newton. You don't simply just replace one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time without some speed bumps along the way. And right now, I don't see Cam Newton is in a position to be successful. And that's a strange thing to say about a Bill Belichick team, but let's be honest. The line play hasn't been that good. He has no real deep threat or safety valves, and he's used to having at least an optimal tight end like Greg Olsen. The Patriots are used to having a guy like Gronkowski, and you've got none of that in New England right now. He doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look confident. And, he just doesn't seem like the same player we saw in week 2.
No. Look. Forget all that. Let's talk about Jeff Garcia and the comments he had about how Cam Newton dressed having something to do with how he played. Or his dressing the way he did before games or the way he does before games somehow has anything at all whatsoever to do with his ability to play football. Yes, Cam went out there and stunk it up. I've been a player who's been benched before in my career because I stunk it up on the field myself. And, granted, I was only a first-year starter, but nonetheless, this is the NFL. Cam Newton had a pretty bad day. It was an ugly day by any stretch of the imagination. And, the Patriots are in a position right now where it appears that they're looking towards a rebuild process of some sort. They're going to need a quarterback. I think everybody can agree to that. Is Cam Newton that guy? Well, I think, we can't necessarily judge it off of this game by itself. I think we got to give it a little bit more time to know whether or not, that was just the white flag as to whether or not he was going to be a fit for the Patriots. But I think, in the NFL, you always get a second shot at it, especially at a position like quarterback with a player of his that's high profile like him. He is going to get another opportunity to go out there and put together a consistent game. I mean, he as much as I don't want to give somebody an excuse, he kind of has an excuse. Kinda. Very, very much so, kinda. But, you got to give him another shot to go out there, see what he does. If he continues to show that he hasn't been able to get back to form as he did, as he played earlier in the season, then maybe you start looking at a possible trade before the trade deadline. You've got until week 8 to get that done. So there's going to be an opportunity as soon as, whether or not he's going to be the guy to make a move with him or not. And, like I said, it's one thing to have a bad game. It's another thing to be, I guess, dogpiled on. I mean, if you know anything about Cam Newton and his statistics over his career, he's a middle of the pack passer. He's never been an elite level passer from a statistical standpoint. It's the other elements of his game that have given him the ability to be the playmaker that he's been for a team like Carolina over his career. Now, again, what else does this say about the Patriots? They gave up a ton of points. They got kicked around pretty hard. Is it Belichick or was it Brady? I think that's another question that people are probably asking right now because we see how one quarterback went through his growing pains early in the season, but now that team is looking like a well-oiled machine. And now you see the opposite effect with the Patriots, where they started off looking like a solid team, looking like a team that was out to make a statement that they're still the Patriots. And now here we are after 7 weeks of play. They're looking like a team that's in search of answers. So, does it all fall on Cam? No. But he does obviously take a big chunk of the blame for the game that they just lost based on how he played, for sure.
But he is who he is, right? He dresses up after games. He always has. Like, that's the person that you get with Cam Newton. And when I look
Yeah,
at
that's who he
where
is.
Cam
That's his personality. That's what he does.
Okay, but if I go back and I look, okay, Tom Brady that we're used to seeing is Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. The Cam Newton that I'm used to seeing really isn't the Cam Newton that I'm seeing in New England right now. Now, when I look at that, like I said, I'm not willing to sit there and blame it all on a bad quarterback. Okay, I still think Cam has the tools and the skills to be a starting quarterback. I think when you go back and you actually look, even if go look at week 2, even the good plays, the line is not holding up. Yes, he's able to extend plays. Yes, he's able to move out of the pocket. Yes, he has all the attributes of a rushing quarterback per se that can take that kind of option play and make positive yardage, but you can't solely depend on that against a good defense, and that is exactly what I saw happen. You've got a player,
You're
it's
gonna have
almost
to
like
be
the
able
old
to throw the
cliche.
ball.
Well, you know what? He's not going to be a pocket passer, number one. And number two, he can't do everything all at once, the same way Tom Brady can, right? The same way Jameis Winston wasn't good last year, and now all of a sudden Tom Brady has the Buccaneers looking like a totally different team. It's the same way the Patriots were good last year, but they don't have all those pieces. Who is their deep threat? Who is their safety valve? You're going to tell me Julian Edelman? No. I mean,
Yeah,
listen.
he doesn't have a supporting cast.
Right. So how are you going to put it all on this guy? But I also want to talk about one thing because I know, listen, the whole is it Tom or is it Bill scenario? I've seen the Patriots play too many games here. Okay, I know how this story ends. Right. Listen, the Dolphins just went to a rookie quarterback. They're going to have some learning pains, right? They're going to have their own growing pains. The Jets, they haven't won a game this weekend. You're going to see the Bills and the Patriots play. Let's say the Patriots happen to win this game. Let's say they bounce back off a really bad Belichick loss, okay? So then what? They beat the Jets the following week. They play effective football. They rely on a solid defense. They're just a better coach team. They got a 4-4 record. They're in control of the division. Then all of a sudden, if Cam's scoring 18 points on 18 possessions, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you dial back some of those interceptions where your receiver don't fall over his own feet or doesn't get a ball tipped up in the air. I think if you eliminate those, we aren't even having this conversation. Are the Patriots looking like
But
Super Bowl
look, we're
contenders?
talking about the Patriots way. We're talking about the Patriots way. Bill Belichick knows what he wants, and that's what he expects from his players. If a quarterback's going to lead the team, he's going to be expected to throw the ball with accuracy. Now, yeah, you're right. Cam doesn't have a lot of weapons around him. And hey, that's on the people who make the decisions. That's above his pay grade. But you can't go for less than 100 yards and 3 interceptions in what, 3 quarters of play? 3.5? Like 3 interceptions? I mean, that is a benching stat line that he put down. It is. It's a stat line that gets you benched. I mean, he owned up to it, which is what you expect the quarterback to do. So I'm happy that he did that. He owned up to it, but the fact of the matter is he doesn't have weapons, but he still has a system. And it's a system that's won championships. So, he just has to do a better job at the things that he knows he can do well. We don't need him throwing the ball 60 yards down the field every fifth play. There will be opportunities for that. Trust the coordinator for that. But operate the offense. If you can't even operate the offense, it's what are they out there for? And I think at the end of the day, with something like this, it's something that's going to be he's going to have to overcome a little bit of maybe a mental lull that he's going through, and we'll see if he bounces back. But I really think it's in between the ears right now. He just has to snap back into a more motivated mentality and move forward. because that game's over with. It's done and gone. This would be the day that they would be, or Monday is actually the day that they would be, reviewing film, processing the mistakes, and trying to digest it. And by Wednesday, you get back to work, and it's a new week, and the slate is blank. So he's going to have a chance to bounce back, and Bill Belichick is going to give him the respect to let him have that, let him do that. But he's going to expect him to do more than what he did last week to get ready for this game.
I'm going to ask you just yes or no. John Ross gets traded to the Patriots. Does it change the whole dynamic?
It adds an element. It doesn't necessarily change the dynamic.
Does it light that fire?
I don't. I mean, that's lighting the fire is a collective thing. That's something that everybody has a piece in. It's not one individual. So really, there are elements of each part of the offense, each part of the defense that start that fire for each side to come together and work and be synchronized in their efficiency. That's just not something that one player has the ability to create for the team. One player can have a substantial influence in that, but in this situation, I don't think that people will necessarily look at Cam as that kind of guy. He has to kind of prove again that he can be that kind of guy, because you can only prove that you're that kind of guy by bouncing back from terrible performances so that your teammates can see that you're resilient, that you don't allow things to get you into a negative mind space and take you off your game. And if you have a bad game, you're able to learn from what you did wrong, move forward with a positive mentality, and make plays consistently so that your teammates can believe that regardless of the scenario, you can make a play because you are consistently a playmaker.
If you don't start Cam Newton, does that mean that you can't start him the rest of the year and you need to move forward and admit in a way this is failure? Or do you feel like they can go back and forth?
No, not at
I don't
all.
feel like they could.
No, not at all. I think even if he got benched for a week, look, who's his backup? I don't know, and I don't care. I'm going to prefer to see Cam Newton out there at quarterback for the Patriots before I want to see his backup. Yeah, bench him for a game if it's that bad. Let him get his mind back together. But you can bring him back. Hell, he can win it back. If you lose it, you can win it back. There's always going to be a shot at some point where you can creep back into it. But, the ball's in his court. I'm telling you right now, the coaches are telling him, hey, man, let that shit go. Move on. We know what kind of player you are. You know why we brought you here. We want to see that kind of player. That's them telling you, hey, get over that. It's over with. Ain't nothing we can do. But now you need to start playing like we know you can play. That's the nice way of them saying that, which is going to be something that, they're not saying that to pamper him. They're saying it as a challenge to him to pick your game up because we need you. And he hasn't lost their faith yet. They just they don't want it to become a consistent thing. They don't want this to be a habit. So Belichick is going to take him back through first his fundamentals, take him back because that's usually where they're going to start. They're going to say, look, this is your footwork. This is where your eyes are. We can tell you all these things you are doing incorrectly that are the fundamental things that you've been doing right for the first, few weeks of the season. They'll show them both. They'll show them film from week 1 and week 2, and they'll show them film from this last game. They'll say, this is what you look like when you're doing it right. Same play, same formation, same motions, same coverage. These are the plays when you're not focused in the areas that we want you to be focused in, that you've run these drills and run these plays in practice hundreds of times already. That's where it's going to start, and that's usually enough to fix the issue for a veteran quarterback who's been through his paces.
I can't believe that you don't know who Jared Stidham is.
Exactly, right? Exactly. No, I don't.
I guarantee you know the guy that wore his jersey before. Well, he wears number 4, and number 4 in New England, that is a holy number, as it is in Indianapolis. So, all things considered, I agree with you. A lot of it has to fall back on just taking your lumps. I know because I've seen far too many times. Bill Belichick is a fixer of problems just as much as a football coach. And these are fixable
Yeah.
problems in a very questionable division. And at the end of the day, to go back to your point before, I don't necessarily know that anyone cares if they won the quote unquote Patriot way. It's just, did they win the game? In 10 years from now, they won't look back at this and say, well, they won that year, but they didn't quite win the Patriot way. All they're going to care about is, did they win? And I still think the
And they'll
Patriots can
call
win.
whatever it is the Patriot way.
Exactly. The Jets don't want to win. The Dolphins are going to have problems winning. Right now, it's the Bills, it's the Patriots. It's a really big, it honestly is a really big game this week. And you know what? Cam can come out and silence every single critic with a good performance. And it's not like he's never done it before, but I feel like if they could get one receiver, the Jonathan, if you go back and take a look at Gordon, you take a look at Moss, every time they brought in a receiver, other than Chad Johnson, it's really seemed to really be that turning point. And I just feel like this is going to be the time they do it again. And we probably won't see them make it a deep run of the playoffs, but I don't see how the Patriots don't make it. You can bookmark it. I said it. The Patriots will make the playoffs somehow this year, even if it's. Well, you know what? We'll see who laughs. We'll see who laughs. Trust me. See if the Falcons are laughing about the Patriots. Other than that, we appreciate you checking this out, and we will be back very shortly with more coming.